Hey guys, and welcome to my new video. You're probably wondering why I'm talking English, just trying new things and see how it works. Today it's Deckguide time. The color combination everyone is talking about, Red Steel Challenger. I'm gonna show you two lists. I'd start week 1, the new set, Arcesius Island. We go over the core of the cards I have in both of my builds, and of course go in detail over all the cards in my two deck lists. And at the end, surely you get some optional cards so you can build the deck yourself to fit your playstyle. And now, without further ado, let's dive into it. I think we can all agree that this guy started the whole discussion if Red Steel Challenger will be viable and competitive this set. Only time will tell where the deck will place itself in the current meta. And before we go over my list in detail, I want to show you the cards I consider core of my two builds. Let's go. I consider these 9 cards as core cards of my Red Steel Challenger builds. On the one side, they perfectly fit my playstyle, and on the other side, they perfectly fit into the type of deck Red Steel Challenger needs to be and wants to be. So let's take a quick look at all of these cards and the thought process behind them. Of course, I have to start with Mushu. He's one of the pillars of my deck lists. He gives you the opportunity to close the game in 1 or 2 turns if you drop in on turn 5. And it makes your challenging characters even more sturdy and raise up their survivability, giving them resist 2 while challenging. I play 4 copies of Mushu in both of my builds, and I recommend you do the same. You definitely want to see him turn 5 to ramp up your lore game and make your challenging characters even stronger. Red and Steel, both colors lack good 1-drop characters, but that's no problem, I got you covered. I run the Robin Hood Shift package. The 1-drop, classic vanilla 2/2 stats, 1 lore, and the big one, you can bring him out earliest turn 3, and you want to see him because then you can start contesting the board and start gaining lore while doing so. And in combination with Mushu, you gain even more lore while challenging and banishing other characters. You probably know these two guys from other Steel decks. Calhoun does what Calhoun does. She fits perfectly into the challenging aspect of the deck. And against some other decks, you want to gain lore fast, and that's why Mr. Smee is here. He's still one of the best 2-drop characters, and in most games you will gain 4 lore out of him, and you can start racing your opponent. At the 3-drop slot, I have these 3 cards. Pete, Referee, who stops actions and songs from your opponent until the start of your next turn. We have Sisu, Emboldened Warrior, which is a very good challenger on the play because your opponent will have more hand cards than you. And if there's nothing to challenge, you gain 2 lore if you quest with her. And the reason, or one of the reasons why I play this deck is this character, Li Shang, base stats of 2 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 1 lore, and he has the ability to challenge ready characters. And if he's damaged, he gets 2 more strength, so he can challenge even stronger characters. If you play him on 3, no character on the other side is safe, and you can start tearing apart the opposing board even when they only have ready characters. And last but not least, we have this guy, Super Goof. He has the potential of closing the game really quickly out of nowhere, and with a Mushu on board, even faster. Drop in, turn 4 if you can utilize his ability right away, or later in the game to close out the game. These were my core card characters, and now let's have a look at the first of my lists. I call this deck Doc's Locations because one of the key cards here is Doc, who is one of your draw engines, and you will find some locations in the deck to force your opponent to turn sideways and deal with them and make them challengeable. Let's go over each of those cards you didn't find in the core cards before and the thought process behind it. You will find the whole deck list, of course, in the video description down below. Game plan with this list is go fast, go wide, use the locations to make your opponent dealing with them, turning sideways, giving your characters targets to challenge, and use the removal spells to deal with the opposing board, even you have no characters to challenge. And remember guys, this is week 1, my starting point with this deck, this color combination. No games are played yet, and from there, this deck will hopefully develop in the right direction. Mulan works as an additional 1-cost character in your deck. She can filter your hand cards if you have too many uninkable cards or useless cards in your hand. And you threaten your opponent to shift into the new Big Mulan, which has evasive and gives your other characters the ability to challenge ready characters whenever she challenges, even though we don't play her in this build. As I said before, Doc is one of your draw engines in this deck. He draws you 2 cards whenever you need them, and he synergizes well with one of the locations we play, the 7 Dwarfs Mine, so you can shoot down characters on the other side which are not challengeable. Since card draw is always an issue with this color combination, I play the Queen of Hearts package. The small one is a decent challenger with bases of 1 and 4, and when she's damaged she gets 3 more strength. And the big one draws you a card whenever you challenge a character, even with herself. It's a bit weird to shift her on turn 3 with shift 2, but if you play her on turn 4 maybe, you can challenge with herself and your 3-drop character to draw 2 cards. Just watch out when you shift her, because the small one can take 3 damage and live, and the big one gets banished if you shift her, because she has only 3 health. As damage removal songs, I use 4 copies of Strength of a Raging Fire. If you decide to go wide, you can use it to remove characters on the other side of the board, and if you have to deal with even stronger characters, I run 2 copies of And Then Along Came Zeus. Both are thingable, and you have plenty of characters to sing with, so use it. I didn't want to tech too much week 1, but we still live in a purple world, and a lot of purple decks are played out there, and a lot of genies are played out there, and that's where Moana comes in. She has 4 strength, 3 health, she has evasive, and whenever she challenges a character, she gives another character of yours plus 3 strength. So she can easily deal with a genie herself and boosts another character of yours to challenge stronger characters or locations. I run 2 copies of her, but I have to look how useful she will be in the metagame. To round up the list of cards I play in the first deck build, the locations I play, 4 copies of 7 Dwarfs Mine and 2 copies of Agrabah. 7 Dwarfs Mine, I think we all know it, gives you 1 lore passively beginning of your turn, and you can use the damage to ping other characters or even use it for pinging Li Sheng, give him 1 damage and boost his strength. Agrabah on the other side is a perfect turn 3 play against decks who struggle against locations. Usually you get 2 to 4 lore out of the location, and if your opponent decides to deal with them, he has to turn his character sideways, challenge the location, and makes his characters vulnerable for your challenging characters. And that is basically the reason I play location in this build. So let's wrap it up here with Doc's locations and have a look at the second build I have for you, which is quite different from the first one. The core of the deck remained the same, only the numbers have changed a bit. I called this one a whole new challenge because a whole new world will be our main card draw engine and card draw option. This is more like a combo deck. We have multiple items which are useful in different situations, and we have a lot of actions and songs, 15 in total, which are useful in many ways and synergize well with Maui Half Shark, which we have 3 times in the build. Make sure you check out the video description, there you find the whole deck list. And now let's take a look at all the cards in detail. As I said before, a whole new world is our main card draw engine. Just make sure you sing it. You can do that earliest turn 3 with a Robin Hood shift, or later on with another 5-cost character, or even Maui Shark is a good singer for Whole New World. Just make sure you don't hardcast it, so you don't lose tempo and can play more characters on the board with the remaining ink. We play 3 copies of Maui Half Shark. He has the ability to recycle all the cheap actions we play in the deck, or even get back a whole new word from a discard. We have some cards in the deck, so you can utilize his challenge ability multiple times in a turn, but we'll get to that in just a moment. I run 3 different items in this build. Imperial Proclamation, 1-cost item, and with every challenge you pay 1 ink less for the next character you play this turn. This ability stacks, so you can use it multiple times to cheat out a bigger character early in the game. With Imperial Bow, you give a hero character challenger +2 and evasive, so you can use it on Robin Hood, for example, to take out a genie or opposing Elsa. And with Meta Young Weights, you can start drawing cards and boost your characters even more. It's a perfect turn 4 play where you can use its ability right away and have a payoff immediately. As I said before, I run 2 cards to re-ready my characters so they can challenge twice or even more often in a turn. Fan the Flames, cheap action, 1 cost, you can ready one of your characters, and Go the Distance, cost 2, is a song, you can ready a damaged character and you even draw a card. If you combine this with Maui Shark, you kind of get an almost endless loop of Maui Half Shark attacking and recycling those actions from your discard and play it again and again and again. I run 2 copies of Break Free. It's a 1-cost inkable action. You deal 1 damage to one of your characters. This character gains Rush and +1 strength for this turn. If you combine it with Calhoun or Li Shang, you have a huge payoff. Because of Resist 1, Calhoun doesn't even get the damage. She can attack immediately and is a 4-2 with Resist 1. And if you combine it with Li Shang, he gets the boost from Break Free. He gets his own strength boost, so he's basically a 5-2 who can attack ready characters. And so he can, for example, take out a Just Blade Cogsworth on the other side, just like that. The last 2 cards are Pirate's Life. Synergizes well with Maui Shark. You can drain the opponent's lore, gain even more lore, and start recycling it with a challenging Maui Half Shark. And with One Last Hope, we have a 3-cost uninkable song. You give one of your characters Resist +2, and if you choose a hero character, which we have plenty of in this deck, he gets the ability to challenge ready characters this turn. That's it with the cards for both my builds. Make sure you check out the video description. There you find a link to both of my decks. And to round up this quick guide, I want to show you some optional cards. They just didn't make it in the deck for now, but are future considerations. Let's check them out. Captain Hook is a potential 1-drop character. He's a good early game challenger and he synergizes well with Mr. Smee. He's a captain and Mr. Smee doesn't get a damage if he's exerted at the end of your turn. So maybe Mr. Smee can live a little longer. Fazoo and Shere Khan are potential 3-drop characters you can build into your deck. Shere Khan gives you 1 lore for each challenge, and Fazoo, if you have challenged twice in a turn, you gain even 3 lore. I recommend, when you play it in your deck, that you don't drop them at turn 2, rather late in the game, so you have a payoff of both of their abilities. The new Big Mulan, at the first glimpse, she seems very powerful, but for me personally, she's just too slow. Right now, she doesn't fit into both of my deck builds, but I might change my mind and she will find a place in one of my Red Steel Challenger decks. One card I strongly consider for future builds is Raya. 4 cost, 3/3, 2 lore, and once per turn when you ink you can ready one of your characters, so you can challenge again. But with the Maui Shark build, I rather have the re-ready actions, so I synergize more with the Shark. But she's a strong card and she will probably fit perfectly into the rather low to the ground dark location build, but let's see how it goes. I reckon that we will see a lot of item decks out there, so Benja could make a comeback. It's a huge tempo swing if you play him turn 3, destroy an item. He's a 2-lore quester with a decent body, but I don't want to tech too much in the first place, because rather follow my own game plan and see where the whole metagame and the whole deck develops from there. And to finish off my list of optional cards for you, Scar, Vicious Cheater, 7 cost uninkable. He has Rush and he re-readies himself every time he banishes a character in a challenge. Imagine you have Mushu on board, you play Scar. It's basically a one-sided board wipe. Scar will survive through all of these challenges because of Resist 2 he gains from Mushu, and it's an infinite number of lore you gain, and it's probably GG and a win for you. So that's it for today. I hope you like this kind of content. Leave me a comment in the comment section and give me some feedback. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, leave a like on the video. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Flokki.